You are listening to Unleash Now, the enterprise tech podcast generated entirely by AI. In this episode, we unleash into the 2024 ANZ Salesforce Salary Survey by Talent Hub.
All right, get ready because today we're going to really dig into the Talent Hub's 2024 ANZ Salesforce Salary Survey.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're listening and you're thinking, what are my Salesforce skills worth down here in Australia and New Zealand? This is where you're going to find out.
For sure.
We've got all the info on what different roles are paying.
Yep.
And what can really make a difference to what you can earn.
What's really cool about this report is it goes way deeper than just like your job title and how many years you've been doing it.
Right.
It looks at things like gender, location,
Oh, wow.
company size, what you specialize in,
Okay.
even whether you've worked in IT before
Interesting.
or with other programming languages.
So it paints a really detailed picture.
Definitely.
All right. So how did they put this report together?
Well, they collected all this data back in July 2024,
Okay.
and they asked people for their actual salaries instead of just like a range.
So we're talking about hard numbers.
Precise figures, yeah.
Because it means we can get a really clear idea of what the possibilities are.
Yeah, it's all about understanding what your skills are really worth.
Okay. So where do we start with all this?
Well, let's start with a role that everyone knows.
Yeah.
The Salesforce administrator.
Okay. Good place to start.
Yeah.
So what's the average salary for a Salesforce admin?
In Australia, it's sitting at AU $125,000.
All right.
Now, in New Zealand, it's a bit lower, around NZ $120,000.
Okay.
But those are just averages.
Right.
The report goes deeper and shows how things like how long you've been an admin, what certs you have, and even where you live
Makes sense.
can all affect your pay.
So what about if you're just starting out?
Yeah.
Like you're a junior admin.
Yeah.
What can you expect to earn?
So a junior admin, let's say 0 to 3 years of experience,
Right.
and one certification under their belt,
All right.
can expect to make around AU $97,000 in Australia.
Okay.
And over in New Zealand, they're looking at around NZ $98,000.
So pretty similar.
Yeah, pretty close.
And then as you get more experience in those all-important certs,
Yeah,
you can really start seeing your potential salary climb.
absolutely. It's all about building that expertise.
So if you're a junior admin and you're thinking about your next move, moving up to a mid-level admin, what kind of jump in salary could you be looking at?
You're going to see a pretty decent jump.
Okay.
Sometimes it's like almost 20% more.
Wow.
Yeah, mid-level admins in Australia with around 5 years of experience
Okay.
and 3 certifications, they're averaging AU $115,000.
Nice.
And in New Zealand, it's NZ $100,000.
So still a good step up.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, so gaining experience, getting those certs early on,
Yep.
really important if you want to boost your earnings.
Couldn't agree more.
So we've talked about juniors and mid-levels.
Mm-hmm.
What about those senior administrators?
So senior admins,
Yeah.
they typically have about 6 years of experience
Okay.
and 3 certifications. They're making a solid AU $130,000
Yeah.
in both Australia and New Zealand.
So that's interesting. It's the same on both sides of the Tasman.
Yeah, it seems like for senior admins, the location doesn't make as much of a difference.
So we're seeing this nice steady progression,
Yep,
junior to mid-level to senior.
exactly.
But what about those at the very top, the lead administrators? What are they earning?
Okay, so these are the folks with a lot of experience, often a decade or more,
Okay.
and usually at least 3 certifications.
All right.
They're the big earners in this category, pulling in an average of AU $141,000 in Australia
Wow.
and NZ $130,000 in New Zealand.
And where do they want to go next?
They're looking at roles that pay AU $161,000 and NZ $133,000.
Ambitious.
They know their worth.
So it's a pretty impressive pass for administrators.
Definitely.
It shows that you can really build a successful career in this role.
Absolutely.
But hold on, these are just averages, right?
That's right.
What's the actual range of salaries that people reported?
Yeah, good point.
I bet there are some outliers.
Oh, for sure.
So what's the lowest we saw for administrator?
On the low end, we saw a junior Salesforce admin in Melbourne,
Okay.
making AU $85,000.
And what about on the high end?
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, there was a senior Salesforce administrator in Sydney,
Right.
reporting a base salary of AU $160,000,
Wow.
plus a 5% bonus on top of that.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, it just shows that location and experience
Yeah.
really do matter.
So location, seniority, those are big factors. But what about bonuses in general?
Yeah.
Are they common for administrators?
They're not as common for admins
Okay.
as they are for some of the other roles we'll be looking at later.
Right.
The survey found that across all the seniority levels,
Yeah.
the average bonus was just 2%.
So not a huge amount.
Not really, no.
Okay, so we've talked about salary progression, location, and bonuses.
Yep.
But what about certifications?
Yes.
How many
that's it.
do most administrators have?
The average Salesforce admin has 3 certifications.
Okay.
But here's a little tip.
Oh, I like tips.
If you want to work for a big Salesforce partner, especially those with over 500 employees,
Okay.
you might want to think about getting more certs.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the survey found that those administrators working at larger companies, they often have 7 or more certifications.
7 or more.
Yeah, it seems like maybe the bigger companies, they
Yeah.
might encourage their admins to get more certification
Right.
or even require it.
So it's almost like a badge of honor,
Kind of, yeah.
showing you can handle more complex projects.
Makes sense.
All right, so if you're ambitious and you want to work for a big player, stack those certifications.
Definitely a good strategy.
Now, let's talk about something that unfortunately
All right.
still plays a role in salaries. Gender.
Yeah.
What does the data say about the gender pay gap for administrators?
Well, the data shows
Yeah.
there is a pay gap, particularly in Australia.
Okay.
Female Salesforce administrators in Australia.
They earn an average of AU $116,000.
Right.
While their male counterparts earned AU $122,000.
That's a significant difference.
It is, yeah.
And what about in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, the gap is smaller,
Okay.
with both women and men earning in $120,000 on average.
It's good to see the gap is smaller there.
Yeah, but it's still something we need to be aware of
Definitely.
and work to address.
Absolutely. So we've seen that location and seniority matter.
Yep.
But how does your actual location affect your earning potential as an administrator?
The report actually breaks down salaries by city,
Oh, cool.
and it even looks at the impact of working remotely.
Really interesting.
So, for example, in Australia, the data shows that being fully remote
Okay.
actually means a slightly higher average salary.
No way.
Yeah, AU $125,000 for fully remote.
Compared to what?
Those working 1 day a week in the office,
Okay.
they average AU $122,000.
Interesting.
And those doing 2 days in the office,
Yep.
AU $123,000.
So there's a bit of a sweet spot, it seems. Yeah, it seems like that flexibility can actually pay off.
Okay, one last thing about administrators.
Yeah.
Does the type of company you work for make a difference in your salary?
You know what? It really does.
Just,
So let's take junior admins
Yeah.
as an example.
okay.
The lowest salary reported was from someone working for a travel company.
Really?
And the highest was someone in banking, finance, insurance, and wealth.
Ah, the classic finance premium.
Right.
Yeah.
And we see this trend
Yeah.
across different seniority levels.
So choosing the right industry can really impact your salary.
Absolutely.
Now, did the survey look at whether having IT experience before becoming an admin made a difference?
They did.
Cool.
And it turns out,
Yeah.
even if you haven't come directly from an IT role,
Okay.
your tech skills can still give you a bit of an edge.
That's good news for those of us with a bit of tech experience under our belts.
Exactly.
How much of an edge are we talking?
Administrators with prior IT experience,
Mhm.
they tend to earn about 5% more
5%. Okay.
than those without that background
All right. So that's everything we've got on Salesforce administrators.
for now.
But there's a whole world of other Salesforce roles out there,
Oh, absolutely.
each with their own salary trends and career paths.
Definitely.
So are you ready to dive into the next one?
Let's go.
Next up, we'll explore the world of Salesforce functional consultants.
Ooh, where the earning potential gets even more interesting.
Buckle up, everyone. Yeah.
They're the ones who really solve the problems,
Mhm.
bridging that gap between what a business needs
Right.
and how Salesforce can actually deliver that.
So they're the translators in a way.
Exactly, making sure everyone's speaking the same language.
All right. So for a role as important as that, what are we talking about salary-wise?
Well, in Australia, the average for a functional consultant is AU $135,000.
Okay.
And they're often looking at earning AU $148,000 in their next role.
So a decent jump.
For sure.
And what about in New Zealand?
Over in New Zealand, they average NZ $126,000 and hope to reach NZ $133,000 next.
So it seems like those Aussie functional consultants,
Yeah,
they're aiming a little higher with those next role expectations.
that seems that way.
And what about location?
Mm-hmm.
We saw before that Sydney often paid a bit more for administrators.
Yeah.
Is that the same for consultants?
It's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Sydney is still up there with an average of AU $140,000,
Okay.
but Adelaide and Melbourne aren't far behind
Oh, really?
at AU $135,000 and AU $139,000.
So it seems like across those major cities in Australia,
Yep.
the salaries are pretty competitive for functional consultants.
Yeah, good news for consultants outside of Sydney.
For sure.
There are good opportunities everywhere.
Okay, let's get down to experience levels.
Right.
What can a junior functional consultant expect to earn?
Okay, so for junior functional consultants,
Those with 0 to 3 years of experience?
Yep.
And around 5 certifications?
5 already.
Yeah, they hit the ground running.
Okay.
They can expect to start at around AU $105,000 in Australia
All right.
and NZ $106,000 in New Zealand.
So pretty similar starting points.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is
Yeah.
they're already aiming for AU $124,000 and NZ $126,000 in their next role.
Talk about ambitious.
It's great to see that drive.
Absolutely.
So those early years,
Yeah.
really crucial for setting yourself up for future success.
Could not agree more.
Now, what about mid-level consultants?
Okay, so those with around 4 years of experience
Hmm.
and 5 certifications.
No 5.
Yep, seems to be the sweet spot for mid-level.
Okay.
They're averaging AU $120,000 in Australia
Right.
and NZ $99,000 in New Zealand.
Interesting. A bit of a difference there.
Yeah, not sure what's driving that.
And what are they looking at for their next role?
They've got their sights set on AU
Rouse.
$129,000 and NZ $119,000.
So still that upward trend.
More experience, more money. So we've covered juniors, mid-levels.
Yeah.
What about those senior functional consultants?
Okay, so they've usually had around 5 years of experience
Okay.
and 6 certifications now.
Bumped up the certs.
Exactly.
They must be learning a lot.
For sure.
So what's their average salary?
They're earning a respectable AU $143,000 in Australia
Nice.
and NZ $133,000 in New Zealand.
All right, so a little closer together than the mid-levels.
It seems like those higher up location might not matter quite as much.
And what are they aiming for next?
They're hoping to reach AU $150,000 and NZ $153,000.
So ambitious goals.
They know their worth.
Absolutely.
Now, the lead functional consultants,
Yeah, the rock stars.
exactly. They've got an average of 7 years of experience
Mm-hmm.
and 8 certifications.
Wow.
They're the ones making the big bucks.
So spill the beans. What are they earning?
They're at AU $157,000 on average in Australia.
Right.
And NZ $152,000 in New Zealand.
Very nice.
And their next role aspirations. Get ready for this.
Okay.
AU $175,000 and NZ $172,000.
So a clear path for growth and earning potential.
If you're willing to put in the work.
Absolutely. But, we've got to talk about it.
What?
The gender pay gap. Does it show up for functional consultants too?
Unfortunately, it does.
Okay.
But the picture is a bit different than for administrators.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, in Australia,
Yeah.
female functional consultants are actually earning a little more.
No way.
Yep, an average of AU $137,000.
Fair too.
AU $134,000 for the men.
That's interesting.
In New Zealand, though, the gap is tiny,
Okay.
with women earning NZ $126,000 and men NZ $127,000.
So a mixed bag, but it's fascinating to see that variation.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to dig deeper
Absolutely.
and see what's driving those differences.
Now we look at the range of salaries for administrators.
Mm-hmm.
What about for functional consultants? Are there big differences there too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Remember, those averages only tell part of the story. So on the lower end, we saw a junior functional consultant based in Sydney
Right.
making AU $80,000.
All right. And what would that look like per day?
Oh, that translates to about AU $1,000 per day,
Right.
including superannuation or KiwiSaver and GST,
Right.
if they're contracting.
So contracting could be an option for junior consultants.
Potentially, yeah.
Right. What about the higher end of the scale?
Now, for the high rollers,
Yeah.
we had a lead functional consultant in Sydney
Okay. Sydney again?
earning a cool AU $215,000.
No, that's a difference.
Yeah, it really highlights how location, experience, seniority,
Yeah.
they all play a part.
Okay. So location, seniority, big factors.
Definitely.
What about bonuses for functional consultants?
They're more common for consultants
Oh.
than they are for administrators.
And how much are we talking about?
On average, it's about a 2% bonus for juniors and mid-levels,
Okay.
2% for seniors, and then a more substantial 7% for the leads.
All right. So aiming for that lead position could really pay off.
Could do, yeah.
Okay. Now we know Certifications can boost your earning power.
For sure.
How many do functional consultants typically have?
The average functional consultant has 6 certifications.
6.
That's double the average for administrators.
So those certs are clearly very valuable.
Yeah, they need a broad understanding of all those different Salesforce clouds and products.
So if you're looking to advance your career as a functional consultant, those certifications are essential.
Absolutely.
Now, we saw earlier that company size could play a role in salary.
Yep.
Is that the same for functional consultants?
It does, but it's not always so straightforward.
Oh, really?
So for those working at Salesforce partners,
Okay.
those at partners with over 1,000 employees and holding 6 certifications,
Yep.
they average AU $120,000.
All right.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Those at smaller partners with 1 to 9 employees
Okay, tiny partners.
and 5 certifications,
One less?
they actually average more.
No way.
Yep, AU $134,000.
Bigger isn't always better.
It seems not. Sometimes those smaller partners can offer better opportunities.
Maybe they have more responsibility early on.
Could be, yeah.
What about the other partner sizes?
Those at partners with 25, 49 employees and 6 certifications are at AU $147,000.
Yeah.
And those at partners with 5,499 employees holding 7 certifications average AU $138,000.
So there's some variation there.
Definitely.
But it seems like those mid-sized partners with 25, 49 employees, they might be paying a bit of a premium.
Could be, yeah.
Okay, we've talked about experience, certifications, company size. But what about specializations?
Oh, specializations are becoming more and more important.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the Salesforce ecosystem is just getting so big.
Right.
And companies need people who really know their stuff.
Makes sense.
So those functional consultants who specialize, they tend to earn about 7% more on average.
7%. Okay, that's not nothing.
It's a nice little boost.
So what kind of specializations are we talking about?
Well, some of the hot areas right now are field service, CPQ, and commerce cloud.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah, and those with field service experience are earning 9% more.
Nice.
Those with CPQ experience are seeing a 7% increase.
Okay.
And commerce cloud experience gets you 4% more.
For those who don't know,
Yeah.
what does CPQ stand for?
It stands for configure, price, quote.
Okay.
And it's a key part of a lot of sales processes.
So if you're a functional consultant looking to boost that salary, focusing on those in-demand areas,
Yeah,
that's a smart move.
absolutely.
What other specializations are worth considering?
Tableau is another big one.
Oh, yeah, data visualization.
Exactly. And those with Tableau CRM experience are seeing an 8% increase,
Okay.
while those with experience in the broader Tableau platform
Right.
are earning a hefty 12% more.
Wow.
And for those interested in the financial side of things, Financial Force experience can lead to a 7% bump in salary.
So many options.
There really are.
All right, we talked about the type of company you work for administrators.
Yep.
Does it make a difference for functional consultants too?
You know what? It really does.
Okay, so who's earning the least?
Well, for junior functional consultants, the lowest salaries were reported at not-for-profits,
Okay.
and the highest, you guessed it,
Salesforce partners.
Salesforce partners.
So they're consistently up there.
Seems like it.
What about mid-level consultants?
For them, the lowest earners were at ISVs.
ISVs.
Yeah, independent software vendors.
Okay,
Those are the companies building applications
Right.
that run on the Salesforce platform.
got it.
And again, the highest earners were at Salesforce partners,
So those partners are really the place to be.
at least early on in your career.
Yeah, what about for seniors and leads?
The story changes a bit as you move up the ladder.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, for senior functional consultants, the lowest reported salary was in the retail and e-commerce industry,
Interesting.
and the highest was, again, at Salesforce partners.
Okay.
But for lead functional consultants, the lowest salary was in hospitality, and the highest, drum roll please,
Hit me.
construction.
Construction.
That's a surprise.
I know, right?
I wouldn't have thought of them as big Salesforce users.
But hey, they need to manage those big projects somehow.
That's true.
So while Salesforce partners often offer the best money, certain industries can be competitive too.
Especially at those higher levels.
Oh, exactly.
Now, just like we did with administrators, let's look at whether prior IT experience matters for functional consultants.
It does.
Okay.
But maybe not as much as you might think.
All right, so what's the difference?
Those with an IT background are earning an average of AU $139,000.
Okay.
And the most common salary for them is AU $170,000.
And for those without IT experience.
They're averaging AU $132,000.
And the most common salary is AU $150,000.
So there is a bit of a difference.
Yeah, I can give you a bit of an edge.
But it's not a deal breaker.
Not necessarily.
Now, we've talked a lot about salaries.
We have.
But what about the perks, the benefits?
Oh, yes. The good stuff.
What did the survey say about that?
Well, companies are getting more generous,
That's good to hear.
especially when it comes to work-life balance.
I like the sound of that.
The most common benefit by far
Yeah.
is flexible working arrangements,
Okay.
offered by a whopping 74% of employers.
So if flexibility is important to you,
Mm-hmm.
the Salesforce world seems like a good place to be.
Absolutely.
What other benefits are popular?
We've got health insurance coming in at 20%,
Okay.
parental leave at a generous 56%,
Wow, that is generous.
and personal development opportunities at 37%.
So they're investing in their employees.
It seems that way, yeah.
Anything else that stood out?
Some companies are going above and beyond
Oh, yeah.
with things like phone plans, gym memberships, life insurance,
Nice.
even stock options.
So they're pulling out all the stops.
It seems like it, that competition for talent,
Yeah,
it's heating up.
definitely. So more options.
Yeah.
More perks.
More power to the employees.
All right, before we move on to the next exciting role,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at how many certifications people have across the board.
On average, Salesforce professionals in ANZ hold 7 certifications.
7.
That's a lot of studying.
It is. So clearly, continuing education
Yeah.
and professional development
Mm-hmm.
are highly valued in the Salesforce world.
Definitely a good investment.
All right, ready to move on to the next role?
Let's do it.
Up next, we're exploring the world of Salesforce business analysts
Those analytical masterminds.
who help companies get the most out of their Salesforce implementations.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about Salesforce business analysts.
All right.
They're the ones who really dig into the data
Mm.
and figure out how Salesforce can help companies work smarter.
Exactly. They're all about understanding the why behind the what.
So connecting those business goals with the right Salesforce solutions.
Absolutely. Making sure everything runs smoothly and efficiently.
So for anyone out there who loves data
Yeah,
and finding those creative solutions,
Mhm.
this could be the role for you.
it could be.
But let's get down to business.
Yeah.
What are business analysts actually earning in Australia and New Zealand?
Well, the average salary for a business analyst in Australia
Yeah.
is a solid AU $130,000.
All right.
And they're usually hoping to get to AU $148,000 in their next role.
And what about over in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, the average is NZ $122,000.
Okay.
And they're anticipating a jump to NZ $133,000 in their next job.
So it seems like there's some good upward mobility there.
Definitely lots of room for growth.
Okay, let's break it down by experience levels.
Right.
What can a junior business analyst expect to earn?
So those just starting out,
Yeah.
usually with these are 3 years experience
Okay.
and 1 certification,
That's one.
they can expect to earn around AU $110,000 in Australia
Right.
and NZ $112,000 in New Zealand.
So pretty similar across the ditch.
Yeah, very close.
And where do they want to go next?
They're already aiming for AU $120,000 and NZ $124,000.
So ambitious.
Gotta love that drive.
Absolutely. All right, so solid starting point
Yep.
and clear potential for growth.
What about those who have moved up a bit?
Yeah.
Those mid-level business analysts?
What are they earning?
They've got 5 years of experience under their belt
Okay.
and 2 certifications.
And their average salary.
They're averaging AU $122,000 in Australia
Nice.
and NZ $123,000 in New Zealand.
So pretty much the same.
Yeah, no real difference there.
And what are they hoping for in their next role?
They're looking at AU $138,000 and
Okay.
NZ $124,000.
All right, so that upward trend continues.
It does.
More experience, more certifications, more money.
That's the formula.
What about senior business analysts?
So they've got around 6 years of experience and 4 certifications.
Okay, bump those certs up again.
Yep, keeping those skills sharp.
So what's the average salary?
AU $130,000 on average.
Right.
And they're aiming for AU $138,000 in their next role.
So another decent jump.
Yeah, those extra years of experience,
Yeah.
they really do make a difference.
And finally, the lead business analysts.
The top of the pyramid,
What are they earning?
these are the folks with 8 years of experience and
Yeah.
6 certifications.
They've put in the time.
They have.
So spill the beans. What are they making?
In Australia, they're earning a very comfortable AU $165,000.
Wow.
In New Zealand, they're at NZ $120,000.
Okay.
But they're looking to get to NZ $150,000 in their next role.
So still aiming high.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've seen that there's a clear path for growth and earning potential.
Definitely a rewarding career path.
But we need to talk about the gender pay gap.
Mm-hmm.
Is it as noticeable for business analysts?
Actually, for business analysts,
Yeah.
the data shows a slight tilt in favor of women.
Oh, really? Yeah, at least in Australia.
Tell me more.
Female business analysts in Australia, they're averaging AU $136,000,
Okay.
while the men are averaging AU $126,000.
So the opposite of what we saw with some other roles.
It is, yeah.
And in New Zealand?
The gap is smaller in New Zealand.
Okay.
Women are earning NZ $123,000, and men NZ $120,000.
So it's encouraging to see that in some areas.
Yeah.
That gap is shrinking.
Maybe even reversing.
Exactly. Now, we looked at the range of salaries for other roles. What about for business analysts? Any big differences there?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what's on the lower end of the spectrum?
Well, we saw a mid-level business analyst in Sydney
Okay.
earning AU $80,000
All right.
with a bonus of less than 5%.
So even in a big city like Sydney, there can be some variation.
There can.
And what about on the higher end?
Now, at the top end, we had a lead business analyst in Melbourne
Melbourne, okay.
reporting a base salary of AU $190,000
Oh.
plus a 5% bonus. That is a big difference.
It shows that location, seniority,
Yeah.
bonus structures, they all play a part.
So those aiming for the top,
Mm-hmm.
they need to consider all those factors.
Absolutely.
Now, what about bonuses in general?
Yeah.
Are they common for business analysts?
More common than for administrators,
Okay.
but not quite as common as for functional consultants.
On how much were we talking about?
On average, it's 3% in Australia
Okay.
and 5% in New Zealand.
So a nice little bonus on top.
Definitely a nice perk.
What about certifications?
Yeah.
How many do business analysts typically have?
The average is 3.
3. The same as administrators.
It's interesting how that varies so much by role.
It is. All right, let's talk about company size.
Okay.
We saw that working for a larger company
Yeah.
could sometimes mean a higher salary.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same for business analysts?
It's a mixed bag, actually.
Okay, how so?
For mid-level business analysts,
Yeah.
the lowest earners were actually at Salesforce partners, and the highest earners were in fintech.
So it's not always about going for the biggest company.
No, sometimes it's about finding the right industry fit.
What about senior and lead business analysts?
For seniors, the lowest was in the retirement industry,
Okay.
and the highest, again, was in banking, finance, insurance, and wealth.
So finance is really up there.
It is
What about for leads?
lowest earners in construction,
Construction again.
and the highest were at Salesforce partners.
So it seems like those finance and tech industries,
Yeah,
they're consistently offering the highest salaries.
they are.
Now, we talked about specializations for functional consultants
Mm-hmm.
and how they can really boost your earning potential.
For sure.
Does the same apply to business analysts?
Well, the survey didn't give us specific salary premiums
Oh.
for business analyst specializations,
Right.
but it did show that those working in banking, finance, insurance, and wealth, they tend to get the most benefits.
So even if the base salary isn't higher, the overall package could be more attractive.
Exactly. It's all part of the compensation.
Okay, let's talk about work arrangements for business analysts.
Right.
Are they mostly in the office?
Well, the survey found
Yeah.
that 33% of them work 2 days a week from the office,
Okay.
which is the most common pattern.
So a good mix of in-office and remote.
It seems so.
And what kind of companies are they working for?
61% of them
Yeah.
work for private sector end user organizations.
So they're working directly for the companies using Salesforce.
That's right.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground on business analysts,
We have.
but there's still so many other Salesforce roles out there.
Absolutely. A whole world of possibilities.
What about those who don't fit neatly into the traditional categories?
Yeah, the survey has some interesting data on that.
Awesome, let's hear it.
So one thing that really stood out
Yeah.
was the earning potential for MuleSoft professionals.
MuleSoft, remind me what that is again?
So MuleSoft is a platform for connecting different applications, data and devices.
So it's all about integration.
Exactly. It's a key part of the Salesforce integration strategy.
And what kind of roles are we talking about?
Well, those MuleSoft technical architects,
Yeah.
they're the ones in high demand.
And what are they earning?
The average is AU $198,000,
Right?
and they're expecting to make AU $200,000 for their next role.
So those MuleSoft skills,
Yeah,
they're really valuable.
definitely in high demand.
What about other MuleSoft roles?
So for senior MuleSoft technical architects,
Mhm.
the average salary is AU $207,000.
Okay.
And their expected next role salary is AU $210,000.
Right. So even higher.
Yeah, those extra years of experience pay off.
And what about MuleSoft developers?
They're earning an average of AU $138,000 in Australia
Okay.
and NZ $145,000 in New Zealand.
So a bit more across the ditch.
It seems so.
And what are they hoping to achieve in their next role?
They're looking at AU $165,000 and NZ $155,000.
So it seems like there's a lot of opportunity in the MuleSoft space.
Definitely a growing area.
What other interesting findings were there?
Well, there were some interesting trends for marketing cloud professionals, too.
Marketing Cloud, those are the digital marketing folks.
Exactly. They use all those Salesforce marketing automation tools.
And what did the survey say about them?
Well, the most common work arrangement for them is fully remote.
Okay, so similar to developers.
Yep, it seems to be the way of the future.
And what's their average salary?
AU $148,000.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
What about specific roles within Marketing Cloud?
Okay, so for Marketing Cloud developers, the average salary is AU $135,000
Right.
plus a 15% bonus,
Wow.
and they're expecting to reach AU $140,000 for their next role.
So they're being well compensated.
They are. Their skills are in high demand.
And in New Zealand.
In New Zealand, the average is NZ $130,000,
Okay.
and they're looking to jump to NZ $150,000.
So a similar story.
Pretty much.
What about those Marketing Cloud consultants?
They're averaging AU $135,000
Yeah.
and hoping to earn AU $137,000 in their next role.
So it seems like there's a lot of opportunity in Marketing Cloud as well.
Definitely a good area to be in.
What other insights did we get?
The survey also looked at DevOps professionals,
Okay.
different types of architects, and specialists in various clouds and industries.
So it just shows how diverse the Salesforce world is.
It really does.
So many paths to explore.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the overall trends we're seeing?
Well, one of the big takeaways is that the Salesforce ecosystem in Australia and New Zealand, it's just continuing to grow.
So it's a good time to be a Salesforce professional.
An excellent time.
What other trends are emerging?
Specialization is becoming more and more important.
Really? Why is that?
Well, the Salesforce platform is just getting so complex.
Right.
Companies need people who really know their stuff.
For you need to be the expert.
The go-to person for a specific area.
Okay, what else?
Remote work is becoming more common, so more flexibility.
Absolutely. More and more companies are embracing flexible work models.
So if you're looking for work-life balance,
Yeah,
Salesforce could be a good option.
they could be.
Okay, so based on all this data,
Yeah.
what do you think the future holds for the Salesforce job market in ANZ?
I think it's going to keep growing.
That's good news.
The demand for skilled professionals is only going to increase.
So if you're thinking about a career in Salesforce,
Hmm.
or if you're already in the field,
The future looks bright.
it does. Any other key insights you want to highlight?
Well, one thing that's really important
Yeah.
is being able to bridge that gap between business and technology.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Companies need people who understand the technical side of Salesforce, but also how it translates to real business value.
So you need to speak both languages.
Exactly, tech and business.
So it's not just about the technical skills
No, you need to be a strategic advisor.
and help companies achieve their goals.
That's the key.
Now, before we go,
Any final thoughts for our listeners?
well, here's something to think about.
Oh.
How will AI and automation impact Salesforce roles and salaries in the future?
That's a good question.
Will they create new opportunities?
Yeah.
Or will the skills and demand change?
It's something to keep in mind as you plan your career.
Definitely. The Salesforce world is always changing.
So stay curious.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Salesforce salaries in Australia and New Zealand.
It's been fun.
We hope you found it valuable.
I hope so.
And if you want to explore the data yourself,
Yeah.
be sure to check out the full report from Talent Hub.
It's full of great insights.
Until next time, keep learning
Keep growing.
and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with Salesforce.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please share and follow us on social media. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to be the first to listen to our next episode.